Good morning, everyone. So today's going to be a nice, short and simple little movement practice, focusing largely on hips and low back. This is for a client that deals with some severe hip and low back pain. So this is going to be super gentle, kind of working through figure four, getting into the deep rotators, and then a little bit of back lumbar mobility and glute activation. Let's get started. Starting in our quadruped position, spreading hands, grounding palms fully, extending the elbows, full extension of the elbows without locking them out. And I want to have the toes nice and tucked in the back. And we're going to start with some nice breaths into our abdominal wall, into our crocodile breath. Inhale in through the nose, full exhale out through the mouth. And as we inhale, try to bring that breath down into that abdominal wall. I want to fill up into the belly. I also want to see if we can fill and expand into that low back and out through the side walls of the abdominals. Filling it up like a balloon on that inhale breath. Exhale, feel that navel draw up and in towards the spine. Full expression of that exhale. And then inhale, filling up that abdominal wall as big and wide as possible. As we're getting that nice inhale into the belly, exhale, drawing the navel into the spine, we're going to get some very light pelvic tilts with that movement. As you inhale, allow that belly to really open up to the floor. Pelvis is going to turn down to the floor, and we're going to get a sway in our low back. As we exhale, scoop at the pelvis. Imagine your tailbone is a shovel and you're scooping up sand. Feel that belly button lift your spine up towards the ceiling. Inhale, pelvis moves to the floor. Exhale, feel that belly lift to the ceiling. Again, nice scoop and full expression of that exhale. Notice if there's any tension or tightness in the low back in either direction. If so, then I want to make sure that we are not pushing into pain and we're being very slow and moving into it without forcing it. We'll get a good 5 to 10 slow breaths. We'll come back to our starting point. Now we're going to get into a little bit of light wrist mobility. On our inhale, we're letting our hips rock back to our heels. As we exhale, we're leaning forward, loading into the wrists. Feel that light resistance at the wrist. And then inhale as we let our hips rock back to heels. And we'll do 5 to 10 nice slow breaths forward and backwards. Keep those fingers nice and spread. Notice if there's a difference in how this feels on the left wrist compared to the right wrist. Is one side a little tighter, a little stiffer? Is it painful? We want to make sure we are avoiding pushing into pain. Next, we're going to turn fingers out to the side and we're going to get our side to side glide. It's moving back and forth. Want to feel that load into the wrist, comparing the left wrist to the right wrist. Again, does one side feel tighter and stiffer than the other side? Next, we'll turn fingers back towards the knees, keeping the palms grounded. The closer the hands are to the knees, the less intense. The further out we bring our hands, the more intense. I want to keep it fairly light with intensity. Now we're inhaling as we rock forward. Exhale as we let our hips sink to heels, keeping the palms grounded and loaded. Again, trying to keep those fingers nice and spread. Next, we're going to flip the palms upside down to the back side and allow those elbows to bend. The focus on this part is the elbows and the back of the wrist. This can be a little uncomfortable if it's new. If it's first time doing it, it might be a little uncomfortable on the wrists. We're going to lightly push down into the floor in order to extend the elbows. I don't want to go into pain. And I want to see if there's some stretch in that elbow space. So I'm extending the elbows as much as I can to feel, is there some stretch? If so, then I want to play in that stretchy nature. I want to move into that stretch a little bit and then unload it, let it bend, and then extend into it. And see if after 5 to 10 breaths, exhaling as you push, inhaling as you drop down, can you get a little bit further into that extension of the elbows? Does that stretch give you a little bit more range? If you're able to extend your elbows fully without locking them and without stretch, then we can start doing some rock back hips to heels. Again, I want to make sure that this is not painful. And then we'll come off the wrists. We're going to roll them out a little bit. We're going to come back into our quadruped. Again, toes are tucked. And I want to bring it back into that nice breath with pelvic tilt. So inhale, let it fill up the belly, moving the pelvis to the floor. Exhale, drawing that navel to the spine, lifting up towards the ceiling as we scoop. And I want to start to now allow this movement to move further up the spine. So as I scoop, I'm going to continue to actively scoop the pelvis, allowing that movement to move further up the spine. As it gets to the shoulders, we're pressing through the palms, lifting high through the upper back. And then we're going to allow it to go over the top of our head and try to touch our tailbone to our forehead at this imaginary point, kind of right here in the middle of our body. With that full exhale, see if you can get that core to really light up on fire. And then as we inhale, feel that pelvis move down to the floor, drawing your spine one vertebrae at a time. As it moves up to the chest, your sternum is reaching to the floor as the head comes up last. So exhale, scoop, feel it move up the spine like a wave, push through the hands. Very top point, trying to touch tailbone to forehead. Feel the core light up. And then inhale. Nice slow wave that moves up the spine and the head comes up last. Notice if there's any points in your spine, whether it's in the low back, mid back, or upper back, where you feel tightness, tension, soreness. Is it painful? If it's painful, then I want to make sure that we're staying below a level 3 on a scale of 0 to 10. Level 1 and level 2 are slight discomfort. They should not be triggering into significant into pain. Good. All right. So now we're going to switch into our V sit. Nice wide V. I want to get as wide as we can with our legs, actively reaching the knees down to the floor. I'm really trying to push my knees down. At the same time, I'm pulling my toes and the top of my feet back, like I'm trying to touch my shins. Hands are coming down to the floor, grounding into the floor through the palms. I want to turn those elbow pits out and away so that we feel those shoulder blades pack down and back, opening up the chest, nice tall spine. We're going to start with our rotations of our legs, paying attention to the kneecaps. Exhale as we rotate the kneecap out as if you're trying to touch the floor on the outside of your leg. And then inhale as you bring it back to center, and then exhale again as you turn the legs in like you're trying to touch the floor to the inside of your body. Go very slow on this. It's not a huge range of motion. Your leg is not, there's not a lot of travel, but I want to go slow in order to really get as much of that range of motion in both directions as possible. So as I exhale, I'm rotating in and really squeezing through that full exhale. Inhale as I bring it back to the center, and then exhale as I slowly rotate out and away and squeeze into it. Squeeze, trying to get a little bit more range of motion on each breath, but without pushing into pain, without, if it's uncomfortable, I'm staying in that level 1 to up to level 2 on a scale of 0 to 10. And while you're doing this, notice how much range of motion does that kneecap travel on the left side compared to the right side. Does one side travel further internally or externally or both? Now we're going to start to add some ankle flossing into this. As you spiral those ankles out, then we can lightly point the toes as we then spiral the knees in, and then we're pulling the toes back, basically making a nice little circle at the ankles, but continuing to get that full internal rotation through the hip and then external rotation of the hip. Try to keep those knees actively as wide as possible. Knees are still actively reaching to the floor through this. I want to make sure that we're avoiding any kind of like Charlie horse cramping in the foot. But if your foot feels good and solid on this, as you point, you can start to flex the toes, really pointing them as far away as you can. And as you pull them back, try to spread the toes and the knuckles of the feet as wide as you can. This should create a nice flossing effect through the ankles. Once you get a good 5 to 10 in one circles in one direction, then we're going to reverse direction and do the same thing. Get a nice point and flex the toes as you reach, pull and spread as you bring them back. If you notice that one ankle is tighter and more restricted on these ankle circles, that is something worth taking notice of. That could be creating some impingements through either blood vessels or nerves that might affect footfall, how your foot is interacting with the ground, the way the foot strikes the ground with every step that you take. So that can be something important in our gait mechanics. All right. Actually, we're going to stay there. Got one more thing to do. So coming back to actively pulling the tops of the feet back, continuing to reach the back of the knees straight down. Now we're going to get into some nice slow fold work. So nice inhale at the top. As we exhale, I want to keep my hands square to my shoulders. As I nice exhale, reach forward. Hands should be reaching even. Inhale brings it all the way back. And with each exhale, I'm seeing if I can slide the hands a little bit further. As I'm doing this, I want to make sure that I am not dropping my head and rounding my spine. I'm not pushing down to the floor, nor am I dropping my chest. I want to keep my spine nice and tall. As I exhale, it's just the hands that are sliding forward. The spine stays nice and straight. As we're working through our center line, we can then start to move off that center line. But as I do so, I want to keep my hands and my shoulders squared. So wherever I turn, I want to make sure I'm turning with the shoulders and my hands stay square to my shoulders and my hands continue to reach evenly with that nice, even squared shoulders so that I'm doing the same thing side to side. As we start moving a little bit offline, we're going to get a little bit more feel to the back of the hamstrings. Does one side feel tighter and more restricted than the other? We also may notice it more in that low back. As I reach to my left side, my right side low back is tighter. It's harder to keep that shoulder turned in order to keep my hands squared. When I go to my right side, it's a lot easier. I don't have that same tension on the left side. So this is a tension point that I need to pay attention to. So I want to notice where those areas that I move well compared to where I don't move as well. All right, now we're going to lay on our back. Both feet are going to go flat to the floor. We're going to start with getting back into our breath. Nice inhale in through the nose. Let's go ahead and let the arms relax to the side with the palms up. So nice inhale in through the nose, filling up that our abdominal wall. Again, I want to breathe into the belly through the front, out through the sides. I also want to feel that low back open up and expand into the floor. On the exhale, we're drawing that navel up and in so that we feel that belt, that the core really shrink and tighten up fully, get that full expression of air out. And then on that inhale, can you fill up that abdominal wall like a balloon, and can you get it to grow a little bit wider with each inhale? Start to notice shoulders relaxing and softening, head being nice and relaxed and softened. We're now going to bring our right ankle onto our left knee, getting into basically a figure 4 position. So this is where I want to make sure that this is not painful on the hips, not painful on the low back. So first thing is just, can I get into the position? If the answer is yes, then I want to switch and do the same thing on the other side. Can I get into the position? If it's too painful to get into, then this is an area where instead of going forward with this, I want you to schedule a consultation so we can figure out what's going on to get you out of the pain so that we can get you into this movement. If both sides are not painful, we'll come back to that first side. Right ankle is on left knee, left foot is nice and flat to the floor. We're going to focus on that right knee. I'm lightly pulling that knee up to my head. I'm lightly reaching that knee away to the wall at my feet. Again, I want to make sure that this is not painful, either on the hip or in the low back. We're doing 5 up to 10, and it's slow. I'm inhaling as I bring that knee up towards the head. I'm exhaling as I reach away. And as I reach, I want to see how much can I reach and open so that I get that little bit of stretch through the front of the hip. As I inhale, I'm bringing it up towards the head as far as I can. Again, not pushing into pain. Once we get 5 up to 10 reps on this side, we're going to slowly go to the other side, and we're doing the same thing. Inhale as we slowly pull that knee up. Exhale as we reach and squeeze away. Notice if there's any differences in tightness and tension on the right hip compared to the left hip. Again, all of these movements need to be pain-free. If you're feeling pain that is a level 3 or above, and you cannot slow down or back off of it to keep that pain in the level 1 or level 2, which again is slight discomfort, that's the point before it really registers as the level 3 pain, which is a, you know, where we start to get the pirate look face, where our body starts to automatically retract and protect itself. That's what we're trying to avoid, is that level 3 pain. Once we get 5 to 10 on that side, we're going to switch back to the first side again. Now, I'm keeping that knee soft. It can be up towards my head more and not reaching away. I'm going to now focus on the opposite knee. My left knee, I'm picking up that foot and I am pulling it towards my chest as I exhale. Inhale, I'm letting that foot back down to the floor. If this is really difficult because you feel the core is a little weak, it's hard to pick that leg up with your own leg, then you can use your hands and grab either your ankle or your knee and help assist by pulling lightly on the exhale. Inhale as you let it back out. Exhale as you lightly pull. Feel that nice stretch through the back of the hip. Again, I want to make sure we're not moving into pain. Once we do 5 to 10 reps, we're going to switch and do the same thing on the other side. Again, ankles on knee. That knee can be a little bit soft. We're focusing on that opposite knee, which is now my right knee, as I pull to the chest. On the exhale, inhale, I'm letting it back out. Continue to draw that belly button into your spine. Continue to scoop a little bit at the pelvis. And again, if you need to use the hands to add a little bit of pull to bring that ankle in a little bit closer to get a little bit more stretch in the hip, as long as it's not painful, that is good. That's fine. Once we did 5 to 10 reps, we're going to switch back to the other side. So I'm back to right ankle on left knee. At this point, actually, we're going to drop this one down. I'm going to bring both feet to the floor. We're going to do some light hip rotation. So I want to keep the knees and the ankles perfectly together. The arms are going to come out to the side with the palms up. And we're going to allow our hips to slowly rotate, but I want the knees and the ankles and the feet to stay together. So as I roll my hips away to the left, my right foot immediately comes off the ground because it's staying with my left ankle. My knees are staying touched together. And I'm just seeing how far can the knees roll as if they're trying to touch the floor on one side. Inhale as we come back up to center. Exhale as we go to the other side. I want to keep the shoulders nice and soft on the floor. I'm only going as far into this rotation as I can keep my shoulders down. And the big thing here is I want to make sure it is not painful on the hips or the low back. Once we get a good 5 up to 10 reps, if you have a good stretch, it feels good and juicy, do more reps. If it just feels kind of like, oh, this is easy and you're ready for the next, 5 reps will be fine. Then we'll bring that right ankle up to the left knee. And we're going to do the same thing, but we're rolling to the left side. So I'm letting my hips rotate as if I'm trying to now drop that top foot over to the floor. I'm only going as far as I can, keeping my shoulder on the ground, and then I'm bringing it right back. Nice exhale. As I rotate, if you're able to touch the floor with that foot, great. If not, it's not a big deal. We're just seeing how far can you get that rotation through the hip and the low back without going into pain. Once we get 5 up to 10 reps on that side, we're going to switch and do the same thing on the other side. So I now have left ankle on my right knee, and I'm rotating my hips to the right as if I'm placing my left foot to the floor. Inhale as I bring it all the way back up, going nice and slow. Notice if one side feels tighter and more restricted than the other. Are you able to go as far? Are you able to put your foot flat on one side and not on the other side? Do you feel it tighter in the low back, or do you feel it tighter in your hips? Those are all relevant bits of information and very helpful when it comes to consultations, as far as trying to help, especially if you're dealing with pain. Good. So next, we're now going to bring both feet off the floor, and we're just going to put our hands on our knees. And I kind of want to let the knees hang in the hands. So my knees I'm letting them soften into gravity. So I have this nice kind of traction through the arms. I want to keep the head and the shoulders down. So I don't want my legs to pull my head and shoulders up. I want to see if I can keep head and shoulders soft on the ground. We're going to inhale, filling up that belly. And as we inhale, that's going to kind of move the knees away from the head, getting nice and long through the arms. As we exhale, we're drawing that navel into our spine, pressing that spine into the floor, and we're using those hands to pull the knees to our chest. Inhale, knees move away. Exhale, nice little pull. As we're pulling, if it starts to lift the sacrum off the floor by pulling the knees in, see if you can start to get a little bit of stretch into that low back space. I want to make sure it's not painful, but I want to see if we can get a little bit of low back mobility. I'll exhale as we pull, inhale as we let it back out. Again, I'm trying to keep shoulders and head soft on the floor. As I pull my knees in, I don't want my head and shoulders lifting up. I want to keep them soft and relaxed. It might help to have a pillow or a bolster here to give you something to be able to allow your head to be a little higher up, but still relaxed. We're going to add a little bit of an angle to this. So we've been pulling straight into the chest. Now I'm going to pull my knees more towards one shoulder and then towards the other shoulder. So this is a very light pull. Again, inhale, still letting the knees out. Exhale, I'm pulling in, but I'm lightly pulling towards the left shoulder. Inhale lets them back out. And then exhale, I'm lightly pulling both knees towards the right shoulder. If that low back is tighter on one side, this is a really good little assessment point. Good. After 5 to 10 reps, we're going to bring both feet flat to the floor, letting both of those legs go nice and straight. We're then going to bring one foot flat to the floor and then moving that foot out to about 45 degrees from the midline of the body. This is where I want a nice tripod foot. I want to feel that foot spread nice and wide. We're going to press down through that knee into the floor and scoop the tailbone of just that leg. So this is I got my right leg out. I'm driving through that right leg and I'm scooping just my right pelvis up towards the ceiling. My left leg is completely soft and relaxed. My left hip stays on the floor. Inhale, I'm letting my right hip back down. Exhale, planted foot, scooping. I want to scoop the tailbone up to the top, See if you can feel a stretch through the front of the hip. See if you can start to feel your glute tightening and contracting in the rear. Inhale as we let it back down. We're going to do 10 slow reps. With each one, see if you can lift that tailbone and scoop into it a little bit more and feel more contraction in the glute. Pay attention to that opposite leg. Make sure it is not pushing down into the floor and that the opposite glute is not tight and contracted. It should be completely soft and flaccid and relaxed to the floor. It's just one side of our body that is working, the other side is not. Again, I want to feel a nice stretch through the top front of the hip. I want to feel the glute starting to contract in the rear. Once we get 10, we're going to switch legs, bringing that foot flat to the floor, moving it out to about 45 degrees from the midline of the body. Spread the toes nice and wide, nice grounded foot. Plant down through the bottom of that foot as we scoop that tailbone up to the ceiling. Again, opposite leg is soft and relaxed. Inhale as we let that hip back down. And with each one, we're trying to scoop into it a little bit more. Can you feel that stretch in the front? Can you feel that tightness in the glute? And this is nice and slow. We're getting 5 up to 10 reps. Ideally, 10 reps on this. And with each one, I'm seeing if I can get a little bit more scoop. Can I get a little bit more contraction in the glute? Check in with that opposite leg. Make sure it is not it's not pushing down. I'm not trying to lift this other hip off the floor. It is completely relaxed. I'm only using one side of the body. Once we get 10 on both sides, we're going to switch and we're going to do both sides again. So again, spread toes, grounded foot. Exhale as we plant, scooping into it. We should be able to get a little bit more extension the second time around, which means we should also get a little bit more contraction in that glute. Nice exhale, feel that squeeze. Inhale as we let it back down. And continue to check into that opposite leg. Make sure it is soft and relaxed. And I'm still, each exhale, I'm seeing if I can get a millimeter more scoop. Can I get a little bit more contraction in that glute? Can I maintain a nice spread out, grounded ball of the foot, pressure through the heel, big toe, and pinky toe all at the same time? By the time we get to 10 reps, we should feel a decent amount of fatigue in that glute. We can then switch and do the same thing on the other side. So again, spread foot, grounded foot, nice scoop as we drive up to the top. Feel that stretch, feel that glute contraction. Inhale as we let it back down. With each one, can we squeeze another millimeter of scoop out of the top? Can we get a little bit more contraction in the glute? Can you feel that foot nice and spread, pressing through the ball of the foot, big toe, pinky toe, and heel, evenly pressing into the floor? Opposite leg is completely soft and relaxed. And once we get 10 on both sides, We're going to come up into our shin box, and we're going to finish with just some nice, simple shin box folds. So I'm in my left shin box, getting into a nice slow reach through that left side on the exhale. Inhale as we bring it all the way up. Exhale as we come across. Inhale into an exhale as we fold into the other side. And we're going to go back and forth. And we're going to do a good 10 up to 20 reps. Side to side. I want to try to keep hands and shoulders nice and square so that as I reach, my spine stays straight. I'm trying to keep my shoulders and my hands square together so I get a nice reach that's even all the way down through my spine. As we reach through the fingers and extend, you can also kind of imagine your tailbone is reaching and trying to slide across the floor the opposite direction, trying to get as long from the tailbone through those fingertips. Once we've gone back and forth 3 to 5 times, we can start to open up our angle of our shin box a little bit, change our position as we continue to fold. And each one, as we come across, we can open that back leg up a little bit more. Notice if there's any positions that feel particularly tighter, especially if it's tighter on one side more so than the other side. And again, we're continuing to open up that back leg a little bit more. Again, as long as it is not painful, I want to explore as many of these hip positions as possible. Until we get closer and closer to what we would consider kind of a yoga class pigeon pose. And to finish up, we're going to lay on our back one more time. Both feet can be soft, resting on the floor. Arms out to the side with the palms up. Nice, relaxed shoulders. We're going to take some nice inhale breaths, filling up that crocodile breath, that balloon breath of the abdominal wall. See if you can feel that belly expand, not just front, but also out through the sides and into that low back space. See if you can fill up that low back space into the floor on your inhale. Exhale, navel draws into the spine. Feel that spine, that belly really press all that air out. And then inhale. Can you fill up that balloon? Can you get it to grow a little bit wider with each inhale breath? Once we get about 5 to 6 breaths through the abdominal wall, I want to start to allow that breath to move up into the ribs, into the chest, side ribs, upper back area. We're still filling up that abdominal wall, but we're also getting that same expansion into the rib cage. Inhale, feel that balloon expand. Exhale, full expression of that air. Continue to draw that navel into the spine. Inhale, filling up the abdominal wall, but also filling up and expanding through the chest, side ribs, and upper back. Notice shoulder blades staying soft and relaxed to the floor. Same with the head. I don't want shoulders getting stiff and holding tension. So if you notice tension in the shoulders on the inhale, on your exhale, allow that tension to release to the floor. And then the last area we'll get some breath work into is allowing that breath up into the shoulders and into the neck. And again, as we exhale, allow any tension, shoulders, neck, ribs, just allow it to melt into the floor. Let it release. Get to breathe into tension and exhale, letting that tension go. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes very slowly, get up, come to a sit, check in with your body before you come to a stand. Make sure you're not dizzy or lightheaded.